There is a programming that goes on when you fear something. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're really going to talk about how that happens, and then I'm going to show you how to pull the plug on it. Hey, this is Damon Cart from Life Mastery Gym, bringing you cutting edge content so that you can create the life that you desire by mastering it. So if that sounds good, please click subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get these videos on a regular basis. I've done a few videos on fear, really because fear is what is holding most of us back from creating what it is that we want, becoming who we want to be, and creating the life that we want to live. And most of the time the fears are irrational, or they may be real. I mean, of course you're feeling the fear, that's the realness of it. But what you're probably fearing will probably never happen, and even if it does, it's not nearly as bad as what you think it is. But that's not really, I'm not here to convince you of your fears not being real or not relevant, because we all know that when we fear something, it feels very, very real. If you want to see some of those other videos, I will link them to this video. So like I said, you can't really be talked out of fear. So I'm not going to waste my time in this video trying to talk you out of fear, but there is a programming that goes on when you fear something. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're really going to talk about how that happens, and then I'm going to show you how to pull the plug on it so that you won't have the fear anymore, but you'll take that useful information that the fear is trying to tell you. Because we don't want to get rid of fear. I get people all the time who come to me for coaching and they say, well, I just want to get rid of this thing or whatever it is that's bothering them. A lot of times it is fear, and they just want to get rid of fear. It's like, no, we never want to get rid of fear. If we didn't have fears, we'd get ourselves into a lot of trouble. What we want is we want the relevant, important information that fear is communicating to us without getting wrapped up in the emotion that fear brings about. And by getting wrapped up into it limiting us from doing what it is that we want to do. So how do we come about having these fears in the first place? Because when we're born, we really only have two fears. When we're born, we are born with fear. But that fear is fear of loud noises and fear of falling. It's just instinctual. So how does it come about where we start having all these irrational fears? Well, if you want to go back into our evolution, we're actually the descendants of ancestors who had a lot of fear, and that's how they survived. So it served a very good purpose in keeping us alive. But now in our modern society, a lot of times, for most of us, we don't have to fear those things. We don't have to fear the saber-toothed tiger around the corner. We don't have to fear being spears coming at us, or a tribe attacking us out of nowhere. The mechanism, the process that creates that fear is still very much alive and well in our evolution where we are now. So what is happening? We have experiences, and at a certain age, we start to reflect those experiences onto ourselves, and that's how we start to create a identity or a self-concept. So as we're having these experiences and good things happen, we reflect that onto ourselves and we say, oh, I'm good at this. And then when negative things happen or bad things happen, we say, well, I'm bad at this. And it gets even worse when others start to judge us and tell us we're bad at something or we're a bad kid. And then we start to internalize this, and then we start to use it on ourselves. We start to say, well, I'm bad, I'm a bad person, or I'm bad at this. And so this is all a part of creating your sense of self and your sense of identity. And it's just natural that we gravitate to the things that feel good and that we feel that we're good at and that we get some sort of validation from, whether that's self-validation or external validation from peers or parents. And we move away from the stuff that doesn't feel good, that we don't seem to be good at, that we're judging ourselves as being bad at, and others are judging us as being bad at. So what we're doing is we're building up all these reference experiences of what you could call failure. Now in NLP, we say there is no failure, there's only feedback. So what we want to do is we want to take that emotional element out of failure, which is the fear of failure. And we just want to look at it as feedback. It's just information. Okay, this didn't work, so what do I do different now? With this new information, what I tried, the results I got back didn't work. What do I do now? Well, one thing I know is don't do the same thing again and try something different. A lot of us never get that far. A lot of us just quit right there. We say, oh, it didn't work. We go out and we try that new business. The results that come back, the feedback, what you might call failure, comes back and you go, oh, this isn't worth it. And then what you're really saying is that the feeling that you're getting isn't worth it. But lots of people keep trying and often do create a successful business. So what you're doing over time, over life, and this is why most of us, our fears get stronger as we get older, and we rack up more and more reference experience of things not working out. And this is why people become cynical. This is why people become bitter. The walls start closing in on them. But of course, this is only really happening in their minds, and we can undo this. So for most of us, we either fear doing something that we once failed at. We don't want to, something inside of us wants us to do it again. Like maybe we still want to continue to try to open that business or start that business. Or maybe I'm single and I still want to go out and ask women, but I had a bad heartbreak or I got rejected. And so I've got all those reference experiences of that negativity, that failure, and I go, I don't want to do that. There's always the unknowns as well. You've tried things and they didn't work out. So then you categorize that as, oh, when I try certain things that aren't predictable and they're unknown, they often don't work out. So I shouldn't even try. So what you're battling against is this mountain of reference experiences of things not working out, even if they were things that you had never tried before and they didn't work out. Then you go, oh, things that I've never tried before, they're likely not to work out. So there's no point in doing it. Or I've had all these negative experiences of things I might want to try again because I really want to make it work, or I really want to be good at this, or I really want to go out on a date, or I want to open that business. But you go, well, I've tried it before and it didn't work. So past history is a predictor of future results. And we know that's not true. We can rationally know that's not true. But we have so much emotion loaded into this. So really, if you looked at your experiences, all your experiences of failure, and you were able to remove that emotional baggage from it, you would just see it as like, well, yeah, it takes a while. It takes a lot of tries to get something right. It takes a lot of time and practice to get good at something. And if you could just look at it that way, you wouldn't have those same fears. And you would try it again and do something different and do something that, based on what you learned from the past experience, what's better. Okay, so the way that we're going to pull the plug on this emotion is to do this. Take your biggest, baddest failure and put it out in front of you like it's a movie. Like, we can call this your workstation, okay? So put it in front of you like that and watch this movie of this thing going terribly wrong, whatever it was, okay? Now, then ask yourself, what was your positive intent in whatever it was you did that failed? Now, you might be thinking, what? What are you talking about, positive intent? It failed. This wasn't good. I don't want to, there was no positive here. But there's always a positive intent to all behavior. Now, that's a presupposition in NLP as well, that all behavior originates as a positive intent. A lot of people have a hard time with that. I don't want to make this video about that presupposition. I can do another video on it and drill down on that at another time. What I want you to understand about this in particular, whatever it was you tried, came from a positive intent. It may not have worked out. Or in fact, it didn't work out because I'm asking you to pick something that was a major failure. Okay, so it didn't work out. This could be, you tried to start a business, you wanted to approach a woman, or you did and you got rejected. You failed you failed a major class or exam in college, something like that. Okay, so you look at what happened here, and you ask yourself, what was my positive intent here? So if it was walking up to a woman and asking her out, well, my positive intent might have been I just wanted to connect with her. She looked pretty, and I wanted to get to know her. With the business that you started that may have failed, what was my positive intent there? Well, my positive intent was to go off on my own and to create more freedom in my life, to create more independence, or because I had a real passion for that, whatever it was that I was working on. So those are the positive intents. Now, when you start getting in touch with this, you'll feel it. Things start to change. So then, knowing what your positive intent was in the situation, so we're going there instead of focusing on what didn't go well. Knowing what your positive intent was, then ask yourself, what was missing? What resource, and we're talking inner resource, not something you would have had to get from somebody else or something external. What inner resource were you missing that you weren't connecting with, that had you connected with it, had you brought it into this situation, you would have fulfilled your positive intent. Now you might be thinking, what are you talking about? Okay. Inner resources are things like creativity. It could be flexibility, adaptability, responsibility. It could be humor, charisma, charm. All of these things are inner resources, and you can develop them more or less, but in general, they're all in you. They're all there in their raw form. You have all of the resources you could possibly need to accomplish anything. Another NLP presupposition. So assume that yes, you had the resource or resources, it could be more than one, that you needed, you just weren't connecting with it. So I'll give you an example. A lot of times when we're in a panic mode, or we're in a mode where we're stressed, we have a lot less access to our resources. That's why they say don't panic. When you panic, basically the state of panic is a resourceless state. You have no resources. You can't access them because you're panicking, okay? And they say calm down, breathe, relax. Why? Because when you do that, now you start to gain access again to your resources, okay? I know I'm a creative person, but when I'm forced and pressured to create, I clam up and I lose access to my creativity because I'm being pressured and my attention, my awareness narrows. So of course I can't access my creativity, but if I breathe and relax, oh yeah, I'm in touch with my creativity. Now, you might need to take it a little bit further. Sometimes people still have trouble accessing their resources. So just remember a time when you did have that resource, or where you were accessing that resource and using it and expressing through it. That's the easiest way to get in touch with that resource again. So maybe what my business was, the resource that I was missing in the business that failed was I wasn't persistent enough. Maybe if I just had kept coming back and trying more, it would have worked. And maybe persistence isn't enough. Maybe I needed another resource. Maybe I needed adaptability. When things aren't working, I need to be more flexible and adaptable. Okay, so add that in, all right? So what you want to do is re-edit this movie of your failure, guided by your positive intent, adding in those resources. So I'm going to re-edit this movie knowing what my intent was the whole time. And I'm going to add in the resources of persistence and adaptability. What happens when I do that? Wow, the movie changes. Okay, now the movie can change in one of two ways. The movie can change in the actual events of the movie change. Or what you might see is a movie of yourself with new understanding. So all the bad things still happen, but now you have a new clarity, a new understanding, new insight into it. And so now you know what else you want to do, something different. So whatever way it works for you is fine. Just you have complete creative freedom here to edit this movie however you want. So once you've got this movie, make it compelling. And for most of us, what makes something compelling is make it big, bright, colorful, enrich those colors. Now there is a threshold to all of these things. So if you make it too big, if it's too overwhelming, then you don't get that feeling that you want. Make it big enough, optimal, not maximum. So make it big enough, make it colorful enough, make it bright enough. And once you do that, then you have this compelling movie that compels you. When you see it, you go, oh yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. So that's where you want to get with this movie. And you want this movie to feel like when you watch it, you go, yeah, I'm not afraid of failing anymore. This is what I want, and I know I can do it because I see myself doing it, and I know where my positive intent is, and I'm connected to it, and I'm accessing my resources. Yeah, this is what I want to do. That's where you want to get with this movie. Now, here's the thing. We don't want to deceive you. You don't want to deceive yourself into believing that that's what actually happened, because then people are going to think you're crazy, and then you're going to become delusional. We don't want to do that. What we want this movie to be is a guide to who you want to be in the future, the guide to overcoming the fear to become what you see in the movie. So what you want to do is you want to take the movie, the memory of what actually happened, and you want to shrink that down, make it kind of dark. You might want to make it gray or black and white, so that if you ever need to recover this information, it's here. We're not going to try to wipe this information out of your mind. We're not doing brainwashing here. So you're going to take that movie and put it side by side with your new movie and have them touch at the edges. So here you have this small movie that's darker of what actually happened, and then next to it, touching it, is this very compelling movie of who you want to be going forward. So if your mind ever falls on this memory again, instead of getting scared, it immediately gets taken over by this compelling movie of who you want to be. Does that make sense? So instead of when you think about this memory and you go, oh yeah, that was it. Oh man, I don't want to ever do that again. I'm afraid to do that. No, you go back to that movie, that memory ever comes up and it immediately gets taken over by this big, bright, colorful, compelling movie of you fulfilling your positive intent and connecting to your resources. That's what you want. Now, you do this with enough of these memories of whatever it is that you fear, and you will wipe that fear away. You won't lose the information that the fear is bringing to your attention, though. And that's what makes this so powerful. You build enough of these images in your database of experience, and you are going to start to be guided by a vision of who you want to be, the positive intent you want to fulfill, and accessing your resources to do it. Do this exercise, and it will absolutely transform your life. Now, you might be wondering, where did I learn this? I would like to teach this to you because this is just one small piece of a much, much bigger NLP model, the most powerful NLP model I have ever learned. And I learned it from my mentor, Steve Andreas. The name of the model is the self-concept model. You do not need to know NLP ahead of time to learn this model. You don't need any NLP experience whatsoever. You don't even need to be a coach. You can be anyone watching this video who has a reasonable amount of intelligence, and learning this model will absolutely transform you. In fact, the name of the training is Transforming Yourself. You can create predictable transformations. You can literally, within a few days, transform yourself at the identity level. And why would you want to do that? Because when you transform at the identity level, who you are, who you believe yourself to be, is a self-fulfilling prophecy that will create the reality around you, that will create the life around you that you want. When you are who you want to be, you will create the life and the reality around you that you want to be in, not in some fake way, not in some fake it till you make it kind of way. I don't believe in any of that. It's got to be real for me. And this is what I do for my clients as well. And I can teach this to you in an online training called Transforming Yourself. Enrollment is open for it. Enrollment closes. If you're watching this video on the day that this video was posted, you have until Saturday before enrollment will close. I also put in ongoing support for this program in a private Facebook group, as well as I do group coaching calls. So this is a can't fail money back guarantee that when you learn this technology, this mental technology, you will be able to transform at the identity level, create the you want to be, and as a result, create the life you want to live. And also, there's a few symptoms, there's a few side effects to this when you start doing this. And that is your self-esteem goes up and your confidence goes up. I know you probably aren't too interested in that, but if you are, or if you like that, if you like confidence and self-esteem, that will automatically, as a symptom of using this model, that too will also happen for you. If you're interested in this, I will put the link to both the webinar, which is a free webinar, and the training. So you can still get in on the free webinar. I do an hour webinar for free where you just learn more about this model. And then if you're ready to do it, if you're ready to do this training, you can jump in and start. You can enroll in it online, get immediate access to it, and start transforming right away.